Welcome to another episode of Advice from the Road, and this is story time number 3. And this happened early in my career. It probably was the most powerful experience I've had. I was working with a husband and a wife. This was back in 2006, 2007, and they owned a mortgage company. And I had known them prior to them getting married, saw them get married. They had their first child. She was pregnant with their second child. Real estate market is booming. They are making money hand over fist. Their mortgage company is doing great. It just awesome. They had just built a big new house. They were expecting their second child. It was a boy. They already knew that, so they were going to have a boy and a girl. Everything was on the up and up. So we met and we reviewed their plan. We determined, hey, probably need some more life insurance. You've got another child coming that's going to depend on you. So we applied for some more, and we had done the analysis, determined the amount. They had done their medical exams. We had we submitted his application, got him approved, and then things went quiet for a while. And I knew her due date was coming up. And so I kept calling him. He was normally very responsive, and he didn't answer. Just radio silence. And after about 10 days, I called his office, and his partner answered. I said, "Hey, is Mike there?" And he said, "What do you mean? He didn't tell you? He hasn't been here for 10 days." I said, "Whoa, what? Why not? What happened?" He said, "Well, his wife went into labor. They had a scheduled C-section, and she ended up dying on the table." And that's one of those moments where you kind of remember exactly where you were when you heard that. And I felt like a complete idiot because, again, I didn't know, and I'm just trying to get them to continue this process and get things finished because I knew that they needed this and they wanted this. And I said, no, I had no idea. And I said, well, we've been working on some life insurance for them. I'll tell you what, you call me when you think Mike is ready to talk about this. And so a couple weeks later, finally got in touch with them. And I said, okay, we got your policy issued. Just need you to sign, and we're all good there. So he did that, signed. When I met him, he was the saddest, most dejected, crushed man I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he was just kind of staring off into space. Mike was there. His partner was there with Mike, just really, literally holding his hand to the paper, holding it up while he signed to activate his new policy and add to what he had. And I said, but there's some bad news. Good news is we planned for this. Jenny had some life insurance. It's there. We're going to get that issued and paid for you. You're going to get a checkbook in the mail, and then we'll determine what we need to do with that. And he said, well, what do you mean? What's the bad news? I said, well, that application that we had for Jenny that was 4 times as much as what she originally had, she never signed it. So they couldn't issue her policy before she died. And he starts beating himself up again. He says, man, I was the one that wanted the second kid, and she really didn't, but she was doing that for me. And we were joking and laughing just as she was wheeled into the operating room, and I had no idea that was going to be the last time I was going to see her. And I said, listen, Mike, you can't beat yourself up over this. It wasn't your fault. It was an accident. It was horrible. It was tragic. So, but he continued to. He was really hard on himself. Really felt guilty. I saw him throughout the years later, and he said it took him a year before he could hold his newborn son in his hands without feeling guilty, because he felt like, well, if she hadn't had that baby, then she would still be here. And I said, listen, again, you can't put that blame on yourself. It wasn't your fault. So, but one day we were having lunch, about a year later. He said, hey, I got a question for you. if Jenny had signed that application and she had died before, while it was in underwriting, before we had a chance to finalize it and activate it, would they have issued and paid out? I said, yeah. Hey, she had already done her medical exam. We had everything that we needed. All they needed was a signed application. And, odds are really good that if everything checked out, which it probably would, they would have issued and we would have had 4 times more life insurance. So he starts kind of getting hard on himself again. And I said, listen, good thing is we planned for this ahead of time. You guys had something there rather than having nothing there. And that's going a long way for you guys. The life insurance she had allowed us to fully fund both their kids' college educations. It allowed us to set up an income stream that was going to pay their mortgage. Because, again, their mortgage business, this all happened in 2007. Remember what happened to the mortgage business and the real estate market after that? It crashed. And their mortgage company just about went under. So this bought him some time because we had done the right planning, because he had done the right planning. And I still have, I remember walking back into their office about a couple months afterwards. Her office was exactly the way it was, even up to several years after she had passed, exactly the way it was when she had left it. Her chair was in the same spot, her phone was in the same spot, the business cards, all of that was in the same spot, because she was supposed to be coming back there. And she didn't. So I kind of forget where I was going with this, but Jeff ended up being okay. The life insurance money paid for some help with the kids, and the business actually survived. And they're still growing to this day. They're still in business. They're still doing mortgages. Hey, and I talk from time to time, but I still have Sarah's business card. Sorry, not Sarah. I still have Jenny's business card in my binder that I carry on my briefcase. And I still have her unsigned life application, because that's a reminder to me to never let that happen again. And that's what Mike told me. He said, listen, don't ever let somebody do this again. Don't ever let them not sign something or finish something or leave it hanging, because this could have made an even bigger difference in my life. This has been really long. I hope you're still listening to this, because if you are, my advice from the road is don't leave stuff like that to chance. Like this, share it, comment on it. Introduce us to your friends, family, people you love and care about, and we will help them as best we can to make sure something like this doesn't happen to them.